Coaching Soccer Weekly, episode 340. Interview with Jono Callahan. Entertaining, educational, and inspiring soccer content to help make you a more effective coach, player, or soccer parent. Hello, and welcome back to Coaching Soccer Weekly, presented by World Class Coaching. My name is Sega Verbinovich, and this is the podcast devoted to bringing you cutting-edge methods, techniques, and tactics for coaching soccer. It doesn't matter if you're an experienced coach who has been training teams for many years, or if you're new to coaching and working with the team for the very first time. There's something we can all do to take our coaching to the next level. Welcome back to the show. We have a really good episode today. I wanted to start off by talking about the weekend games and something that we're still struggling with a little bit. Our 2012s had the first game, and it was a really great performance with our 2012s. Exactly the way we wanted to play. I put up a YouTube video on with some highlights as well, and in those highlights it wasn't really goals. I had, I think, one goal, but we had three different players doing Maradonas. We had a player doing a Cruyff turn, and these are all different players doing these moves. We had one player do a Ronaldo chop, and really the idea is that this is a full gladiator team. We kept possession most of the game. The other team was far bigger, far faster than us, but we managed to control the game. And not in like an arrogant way. You know, I've seen these games where the way coaches act and players act when they're dominating is just uncalled for. This was really, we were concentrated the whole time. We were playing. We didn't interact in these frustrating moments with the other team tripping our players and things like that. We just kind of played on, and we just kind of kept our head down and really played our game. And I was really proud of that team for that. We ended up winning that game 2-0. And then our 2010s were next with our 2011 team. And after that, we had our 2013 game. And the problem with both of these teams is that consistency. There just isn't enough consistency within the rest of the teams. Our 2012 so far have been the only one that week after week, I think there was 1 week that they really didn't play our style. But throughout the whole summer, I've been really impressed with the consistency and playing the right way. There have been games that we lost. There have been games that we tied and won. But throughout all of that, we had our 1v1s. We kept possession. And we just did things the right way. So that was something that happened this weekend. And that's something that we have to work on with the 2010s, with the 2013s, just being more consistent and understanding really what we have to do and how we play. So there was something that happened to me by accident. And it kind of led to something I think pretty cool. Throughout my whole life, I've really just been Adidas. And I've always just worn Adidas clothes when it came to soccer and shoes. I've rotated between Nike and Adidas, but that's it. Very recently, I needed to get more balls for my academy, so I wanted to get the Adidas Tango. But they were sold out at the store that I went to. I wanted to get like a bundle of balls. I think it was like 12. And so I went, and they had these Pumas. And the Puma balls were cheaper, and I was like, okay, you know what? Let's try Puma. Tried it, absolutely loved the balls. Beautiful, great balls. And then I wanted to get some goalie gloves for myself, just because, you know, there are times during 1v1s where we don't have a goalie, so I wanted to go with net and just kind of have those with me. And I saw that because I'm a City guy, Manchester City guy, so Ederson has Puma, because obviously Manchester City has Puma as their sponsor. So I went, got that, along with, on sale for $30, there were these indoor shoes on the Puma website. So within like a span of a week, I just ended up completely going Puma. And then on top of that, there's an outlet store, a Puma outlet store, and I just ended up buying these Puma, just like regular shoes, to go out. So it's really funny to me, and I think for a lot of soccer enthusiasts out there, you know that you're like very loyal to a specific company. Like for me, it was always Adidas. So now for me to go completely Puma, is just something that I never thought would happen. And this isn't sponsored by Puma or anything, so I don't want you to think that. But I just think it's so funny. Like I never grew up being like, I want these Puma shoes, and now I've kind of just transitioned into Puma. And here's why. Hear me out here, because Puma is still great quality, but it's just not as expensive as Nike and Adidas. So you're getting a really good product and it's cheaper. So I know this has nothing to do with anything, and maybe some of you are even rolling your eyes right now as why I'm talking about it. But it's a big thing for me. I'm a very loyal person, so to go from now Adidas to Puma, I don't know. It's a big deal for me. So now I have Puma shoes. I got Puma gloves. I got Puma balls. When I'm walking on the street, Puma shoes. And yeah, so I don't know if you're looking for stuff and you want it for like I got my shoes, my indoors for $30. Like that's ridiculous on their Puma website. So and they're pretty nice. They're great. So yeah, Puma. Who knew? Who knew? All right. So let's talk about the interview I had with Jono. Jono is a youth coach in the U.S. He also works for VO as well. We talk about, in the beginning, we really talk about the U.S. landscape, which is, I played in the U.S. Youth soccer, and that was so long ago that I am confused about how things work there now. There's the ECNL, local leagues, regional leagues, there's so much. So he helps me kind of navigate through that, and then we talk about VO. So I think it's a really great interview. I really enjoyed talking to him, and he's a really good guy. So without further ado, here's my interview with Jono. I'm so excited today to be joined by Jono Callahan. Jono is part of the amazing VO family that has been a really big part of the podcast. And I'm really excited to have him on the show today, talk soccer, talk VO, and talk everything that we love. So welcome to the show, Jono.
Thanks again. Excited to be here and excited for the podcast.
Yeah. So can you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself, kind of maybe where you grew up and maybe your soccer journey to kind of what led you to where you are now?
Yeah. So grew up in a town called Falkirk, Scotland, which is just in between Glasgow and Edinburgh for most people. And came to the US after high school, which was about 12 years ago. Came to the US to play college soccer. So I started off at a junior college in Kansas. And
Where?
then junior college in Kansas. It's called Pratt Community College. And then played a little bit of PDL soccer for a club called South Carolina United. And then eventually graduated from Bellevue University, which is an NAIA school here in Nebraska, which is where I live right now. So after college, started coaching. Been coaching now for, I think, about 8 years. Coach for a club called Gretna Elite Academy, which is in Omaha, Nebraska. We play in the ECNL league in the US. And then for the last 5 years, I've been in this sports tech world as well for my personal job. And so been with VO for the last 4.5 months. And what I do there is oversee our national partnerships for North America at VO. So it's been a really exciting journey and excited for all the things we're doing at VO right now. And obviously working with you guys as well as part of that.
Yeah, I definitely want to get into the VO and everything. But before that, can you talk a little bit about which age groups you work with? And then obviously you've had a background playing overseas and you came to the US. What have you seen as the differences? And I also want to talk about the ECNL and all that. But let's just start off with that kind of first question. What age groups do you coach?
Yeah. So on the club side, I coach a U9 girls team.
Nice.
They're pre-ECNL team. So that's it's fun. It's the first time I've ever coached groups that are this young, and it's totally different from coaching people that are in high school and the older kids, which is quite refreshing actually. So I also coach for a high school called Miller North High School. It's a school in Omaha, Nebraska. And I'm an assistant coach for the girls program there too. So have both ends of the spectrum, high school girls and U8, U9 girls as well.
What do you notice is the biggest difference between high school and club?
I'd say the competitive nature. One thing I've noticed is high school. There's a great sense of like community, and obviously no one's paying to play high school sports.
Yeah.
Biggest difference here in the US, I would say, is the pay to play structure, which whether that's good, bad, indifferent, whatever it is, obviously it is what it is. But club, I would say, is a lot more directed towards getting recruited to the next level. A lot more travel included, maybe a bigger commitment than high school sports here.
And how long is your high school season?
Here it's just from March till May, so it's a pretty short season, but it's packed with games. You're playing like two or
Yeah.
three games a week, which is really intense. But yeah, it's quite a quick season. It's 10 or 11 weeks.
That's awesome. And back to kind of the club side. I mean, I'm in Toronto. I played a little bit in Kansas, which is a funny that we share that. It seems like I don't know, everyone's had something to do with Kansas. I don't know what it is, but Tom
One of
Lee's
those states, one of those
yep,
states would just pass through.
yep.
Yeah.
So I don't really know how the structure is there now when it like what's how does it work from, let's say, the grassroots all the way up to getting selected, maybe from a university point of view? Like, where do we go from, let's say, house league? We start at house league.
Yeah.
What's the structure up? Because I've heard that it's kind of like a wild, wild west with so many different leagues and this and that. What's your experience and what's the pathway?
Yeah. It is very complex in terms of the structure and leagues and everything like that. But I can just speak to our club. So we have a junior academy, an academy, and then our older teams play in either ECNL or the local Nebraska league. So the junior academy is where they start, and that's grassroots. It's just learning the basics of soccer. The academy teams are those, kind of 9 to 14. They're starting to take soccer a bit more seriously. You might be traveling out of town for one or two tournaments. And then once you get to kind of those high school age groups, that's where it really gets a lot more competitive and serious. And so depending on obviously the level of the player and the level of the club, then you would have teams that play, for example, our top teams, boys and girls, play in ECNL. And the second teams will either play ECNL Regional League, or the boys' second teams play in NPL. And then it just kind of filters down through that. So there's a number of different options as far as the recruitment goes. I mean, that can happen at any level. Typically, those kids that are playing at the highest level at our club, like ECNL and stuff like that, they're trying to go to Division One programs and so on and so forth. But there's definitely opportunities no matter where you are in that ladder.
So that ECNL, I've heard that, everywhere. And you mentioned that there's a regional. How does ECNL works? What are the different levels within ECNL? Is that the highest league in the US for kind of youth soccer, or is there anything higher? How does that work?
Yeah, again, it's all based on opinion. There's a number
Yeah.
of different leagues. ECNL and Girls Academy are very competitive together. There's some newer leagues that are coming up: Elite 64, Elite Academy, DPL. There's quite a few different ones, and it's for us, ECNL at our club is the highest level you can play in. We will have 6 girls teams and 6 boys teams. So it goes from U13 to U19,
Yep.
and they will play. We have a conference that they play in, and so it's based around our region, and then they'll also travel to probably 2 or 3 national events throughout the year in different parts of the country as well.
That's cool. And what's kind of been your experience with these different levels? What have you seen? What's, talking about the difference between the local, obviously, youth at the under 9 and then the ECNL? Is the ECNL, is that like travel? Is that vary every week? You kind of travel different state, out of state, that kind of stuff. Obviously, with the local leagues, you stay local, but what are kind of the days of ECNL? How many practices do the ECNL players have every week?
Yeah, most ECNL teams will practice 3 times a week,
Okay.
and they will travel probably a couple times a month out of state to play against either different ECNL clubs or host ECNL clubs against our club. So there is quite a lot of travel involved in that. It is a big commitment.
Is there promotion relegation at all?
No,
Oh.
it's group play, and then they have, I believe, playoffs and stuff at the end of the year that you can go and compete in kind of national and regional playoffs. And then on the state by state level, each team, for example, the team I coach, we play in just a local state league, and you play a whole series of games in the fall. Some of those older age groups will compete in state cup. So you go into almost a state tournament, and then you play group play, and then go semifinals, finals. So that still is really competitive on the state level, and it's something that teams still, they want to go say we're state champions, and so that's also a good place. But yeah, on the ECNL side, there's definitely a lot more travel. So it's obviously, it comes down to if people want to travel that much, and if their commitment levels are to that standard.
And is State Cup, if you're in the ECNL, do you still do State Cup?
It really depends on the team. Some choose not to and just focus on kind of the ECNL league and those kind of events. Others still like competing against some of the teams in their area.
Cool. It's interesting, because
it is quite crazy. That's the nature of US soccer, is there is a lot of leagues and a lot of different tournaments and things to go to, so it can be really overwhelming, honestly. But it really just depends on where you're at on that development pathway.
Well, when it comes to the US is gigantic compared to England, Italy, different European countries, so it kind of makes sense, and Canada as well is really big, so for us it's kind of similar, but it seems like that Canada has kind of settled down with the amount of different leagues that are out there. So
in a perfect world, we'd all be under one organization. We'd have promotions and relegations and split a region, but that makes too much sense. So that's probably why.
All right, that's awesome. It's just it's always good, when I get coaches to just hear kind of what's going on around the world. So that's great. All right. Now let's get into VO. How did you get started with them? What's been your experience with them? And have you run into the same problem which I have, which is now I got to get to the field 30 minutes early or an hour early because the other team has a VO and I want the best VO position for my team?
I started with VO, like I said, back in May. I was in a similar I worked for a similar company in the sports tech space and knew who VO were and saw their presence in the market. Obviously, being a coach, most fields I go to, I see a green camera sitting there. And so the position came at VO to come in and oversee national partnerships in the US, which was really intriguing. So decided to pursue that opportunity. And it's been an amazing journey so far. VO is based headquartered in Copenhagen, Denmark. So it was really cool. We went over there this summer and got to meet, the team and everyone else around the company who's started VO, and it's really cool to see the mix of culture from the European side of the game and how that's translated into what VO is doing now, kind of in the North American markets. Being a Danish company, football is just what they live and breathe as well as most other European countries. So that's really cool to see, and it's really fun when you go out to a field and you see lots of different VO cameras and you're representing the company that's behind it as well. So
I was at a game this weekend and the other team put up their VO, and one of the coaches was trying to explain to the other coach how VO worked. He had it completely wrong. He was like, well, the camera follows the ball, which is not really true. It's a software that kind of does it. So can you explain what that process is and what does VO really do for game experience, I guess, in coaching?
Yeah, so the camera itself is an AI powered camera. So there's artificial intelligence in the camera, like you said, through our software, which dictates movement in the game and is able to basically track and follow movement, and which is why you see you can view VO in multiple angles. As far as the camera as it's been known. We had a VO camera, and we just released the new VO Camera 2. The new VO Camera 2 has the ability to live stream as well. So now you can also film your games, but you can stream that, which is, especially in the North American markets, it's a pretty big deal because there is so much travel involved, like we just talked about here. So if a parent's, their kid's playing in Florida and they're not able to travel to that event, they can still watch that game live from their phone through the VO app or stream it to their smart TV. So it just increases the access and that kind of experience out with just, the traditional filming of a soccer game, which has become really, really popular now, not just at the top level.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's really interesting, there's a couple of things that I absolutely love about VO. The first is how willing they are to change and take the coach's notes, because I know there's just constant changes in the software that they do. So they're really great with that. But what's really interesting, I think, is the movement of how we watch soccer now. Before, when I was growing up, turned on the TV and it was on cable and that was it, right? Then we moved into satellite and stuff like that. But now the soccer world is really starting to move into streaming, right? So we've got Fubo here in Canada, DAZN right here in Canada. And what's really great about VO is it's allowing, and this is just kind of the beginning of it, I think, but it's allowing clubs to now start to compete in that world, that streaming world, and that possible idea of down the line, having the ability to charge, if you're a giant club with over, and we have some of those here in Canada, 1,600 members, right? And you've got that top team that's playing maybe national cup or state cup or whatever, and you can charge parents, a monthly fee for it. It's another way to stream revenue into your club or academy. And for VO to kind of get into that platform at the start and continue to improve is something that I just don't think other people are doing. And it's not talked about enough, but they're empowering the youth culture, which is not something that we see a lot. Even when we talk about districts and all those types of people, they're here for the youth clubs, but there's so much politicking in this and that. And with VO, it just seems like they're here to lift. They're here to lift the tiny voices. And that's what I love most about it.
Yeah, you're spot on there. I think it really ties into the mission of our company, which is to democratize sports. So make it accessible no matter what. Like we talked about, if you're a 7-year-old that wants to stream a game so your grandparents can watch it, or if you're a professional academy that's competing at the highest level, I think it's just given that access. And like you said, they can take it in their own hands and make it what they want. And I think a lot of this has been accelerated through COVID, the streaming side of things, because people got used to watching streams and seeing it, and now it's became more normal. And it's definitely not an easy task to take on. I think that's why not a lot of people do it, but it's one that our team's committed to, and we're only in the early stages, but they have a lot of big plans for the streaming side of what we offer over the course of the next couple of years.
So I've talked about VO. I talk about it every single time, but what are the main differences between the VO1 and the VO2 that's now being introduced? Because I really want coaches to understand how much VO really listens to the coaches.
Yeah. So there's quite a few differences. Live streaming, we just talked about at length here. And obviously that's a massive differentiator, is that you can live stream. The ability to store multiple games, the hard drive on the new camera is a lot bigger. I believe you can store around 8 games on the camera before having to upload any. So for coaches that are traveling for tournaments and don't always have great access to internet connection, then it makes it easier for them, so that they're not stuck in a hotel room or stuck somewhere trying to upload. And then also the ability to upload games over Wi-Fi. There's no more Ethernet cords. That's a complaint that coaches often said is, the world's kind of moving away from the traditional Ethernet cord and things like that. And so you can upload a game as soon as you're connected to Wi-Fi. The uploading process is a lot more simplified now. And you can stream via Wi-Fi as well. So those are some of the main differentiators from the VO1 to the VO2.
And what about battery life?
Battery life is, you could do, right now it's around 4 hours. Another difference is you can actually charge the camera while it's recording. So
wow.
A lot of clubs that use external battery packs, right now you get about 2.5 games on the battery life. But if you have an external battery pack, you can connect that and record from multiple games after that. So yeah, that's the difference there, is you can also charge while you're recording.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And let's talk a little bit about the software itself, because when you recording it is one thing, right? But we do our meetings, our online meetings every Monday, and the software itself is really what coaches are going to be using, right? Like that's what's going to make your life easier or harder. So can you talk about, and I absolutely love the changes, but what have you seen the changes have been since kind of that first, beta run, and then where we are now, and what's coming up, if you know anything there?
Yeah, no, great question. So the VO is called the VO editor. That's kind of our back end platform. That's where coaches and players can have access to go in, create clips and give coaching points and review the video and all those great things. We've done quite a bit of updates recently. We just announced a new update to the VO editor. So now you can go in and add different telestrations, so different drawings, different shapes, colors, get creative from that perspective, which a lot of coaches asked for. Our team listened and tried to put some of those in place. There's also different viewing scenarios that you can have. So you can, view it as a full screen. You can have a journal running on the side of the screen as you're watching the video. So coaches love that, because they can quickly journal all their notes as they're going through the game, and it just makes it a lot easier. You don't have to go other places. We also are we just announced a new platform within VO called the League Exchange, which is really big here in the US. A lot of leagues are asking for a shared video library for the entire league. And so that's something that we just launched this month, actually, through 2 new partners. One is the DPL League, which is an all-girls league here in the US. And then another is NorCal, which is Northern California League. And so what the League Exchange is a shared video library for the entire league. The home team films the game. They upload it to the VO League Exchange, and everyone else within that league has access to view the video. So not only are you making sharing and exchanging video easier, you're also allowing teams to scout other teams, be prepared for their opponents, and it enhances that recruitment process as well, because now college coaches can go in and see video content from an entire league, which is really going to just enhance what they can do from a recruiting standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, it just, and I think we can hear it from the way that, what you're saying. VO just listens, and you don't get that from a lot of companies at all. You just you get what you get, and that's really it. So that's really what I love most, that they listen and they're open to change. And, as coaches, we should be open to, learning, and I think VO is doing the exact same thing there. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that's we want to pride ourselves on that. I think that's what makes great companies great, is listen to what people that are using your product want and try to do the best to meet those needs. And that's something that we'll continue to do for years to come.
Well, awesome. Thanks so much for joining me today, Jono. And if you are looking for a VO, you can use our code CSW100. That's Coaching Soccer Weekly 100 to get a discount on your amazing VO.
Thank you, Skev. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Coaching Soccer Weekly. I really enjoyed my conversation with Jono, and I think VO is doing some really amazing things. But my favorite thing about it is that they listen, and they're constantly getting better. If you're looking for a VO for your club or academy, you can use our discount code CSW100, and please use that because it lets them know that you've heard it from us, and it helps us continue this amazing relationship with them. This weekend is going to be the last game for 2013s, and we're all playing at home. So I'm really looking for a consistency throughout the 2012s, 2013s, and 2010s. So I just really want to see gladiator soccer. I want to dominate the ball in 1v1. So I'll let you know how that goes on next week's show. So until then, enjoy the journey, enjoy the moments, but most importantly, enjoy the game. Coaching Soccer with is a production of World Class Coaching. All rights reserved.
Hey, thanks for watching all the way to the end. And you can check out more of our videos right here. And if you haven't done so already, I would really appreciate it if you'd hit the like button and the subscribe button.